Well, let's find out lots more about this project. We are joined by Amadou Diallo. He's a regional coordinator for Start Network in West Africa. Great to have you with us on the show today, Mr. Diallo. Now, let's start by talking about this policy, this $1.5 million policy. It is built on something called parametric insurance, which basically means it pays out before a crisis, and it's based on pre-agreed scientific triggers. So take us through the pros of such a policy, and certainly what sort of support it provides to populations during a crisis like a drought.
Yes, thank you very much, Uche, for having me today with you on CGTN Africa. We are very proud to announce the purchase of a drought policy which was made possible through the Arc Replica initiative in Senegal. Concretely, this policy will allow protecting more people in Senegal if a drought was to happen, and will allow the government and the Start Network, as each party has purchased a policy, to receive a payout right after the end of the raining season. And this will enable life-saving support to be provided before the worst effects of the drought are felt. And it means that more people and more lives can be saved. So there are three key points I wanted to highlight regarding the pros of having this policy in place from our experience. First of all, it enables greater preparedness of governments and humanitarian actors. In fact, it demonstrates stronger and better coordination and complementarity between governments and civil society. And from our experience on surveys we conducted with key stakeholders, most people interviewed agreed that the coordination was better than what they usually see in other humanitarian intervention. So in 2020, we had a payout that was issued by the African Risk Capacity, and we intervened in Senegal. So the Start Network was able to assist around 355,000 people in Senegal, and this was done in a timely manner and enabled really to reduce the impact of the crisis that was predicted. Secondly, there is evidence that it mitigates compounding effects of risks and shocks. As you know, 2020 was an unique and exceptional year because we had the COVID-19 everywhere in the world. And in Senegal, COVID-19 came right at the point where we were starting to do the distributions. So populations had the impact of drought, and later on the impact of COVID-19 with lockdown, restriction measures, market being closed. People were not able to work and to have incomes. And doing an early action allowed us to provide the communities support when they needed it the most. And having such mechanism will greatly help as we can assist communities before they risk being in extreme conditions and are forced to sell all their valuables and assets. The third aspect would be the fact that we can assist more vulnerable households, because when we act early, it will require less funds. And this will mean that more people can be assisted, which means that there are more possibilities to address humanitarian needs in timely manner when people need it the most. And finally, as Arc Replica partners, our ambition is also to support African member states technically and financially. So the purchase of such Arc Replica policies will help protect more people, because we are able to buy a portion of the risk additionally to what the government is purchasing, and this will allow a wider protection for the communities and also developing stronger disaster risk financing structures in country.
Right. And as we mentioned, this is one of the first implemented on the continent. Let's talk about your plans for this policy in Africa going forward. As you mentioned, this is the second policy purchased by Start Network in Senegal. Are you looking to do the same in other countries and other regions on the continent?
Yes, in fact, we started the Arc Replica initiative in Senegal in 2018. And we purchased the first policy in 2019. and this was alongside the government who also purchased the policy. So the two replica policies in Senegal, the replica policy and the government policy in 2019 were covering 70% of the risk, the drought risk in the country. And this year, the policy we purchased with the government, if you add up the two seeding percentages, we are covering around 94% of the risk. And the government has taken a larger seeding percentage, increasing their seeding percentage to around 65%. So this is to say that in our approach, we would see how to work and support communities by increasing the coverage and gradually reducing our participation to allow the government to increase their participation and budget their premium purchase. So in this logic, we are discussing with other African Union member states that are interested in the ARC mechanism and also in partnering with replica partners, Start Network or WFP. And we expect to work with countries in East and Southern Africa region as well, because as you know, the drought risk is really large in certain countries such as Somalia, Kenya, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and so on. So it's really in our ambition to work with the countries that needs it and see how we can have a complementary approach, but also have an exit strategy where we will let gradually the country taking more and more a portion of the risk.
Well, on that note, I have to ask, with all the benefits of parametric insurance, it can certainly be a game changer for the African continent, where, of course, we see climate risk is most concerning, where, of course, natural hazards are also becoming increasingly more threatening for the continent. Why then are we not seeing this type of insurance more common on the continent? And certainly, what are your views on the growth of parametric insurance in Africa going forward?
Yes, it's true that there are some barriers regarding the use of parametric insurance by governments, but gradually we are seeing a growing interest among African member states. One of the barriers would be the conservative mindset. People, organizations are used not to start acting when they don't see a danger in front of them. And we still face some resistance to changing our approach to disaster risk management. Because what is required right now is for us to be more proactive instead of being reactionary. And if you look at our humanitarian system, it is reactionary to a large extent. And also, government usually would react after crisis hit. So it's very important to see how we can alleviate those conservative aspects to really support the development of this mechanism. The other aspect is the costs and the technical expertise that is required to put in place national or regional infrastructure for disaster risk financing that will support early action. Because you have to have a lot of data that is available. You need to have scientific models. You need to have in-country expertise and technical working groups that are able to really update those models and make sure that the models are reliable. And also, you have the participation of humanitarian actors that can bring a contribution to that as well. So we remain really confident regarding what we have seen in the continent. Our experience in Senegal was really positive, and we are really moving towards greater challenges, and also we are improving year after year. So we are really confident that Senegal can showcase their experience and also document what we have been able to learn to motivate other countries to work towards disaster risk financing. There are other countries that have really, for example, in Kenya, Kenya has invested a lot in the disaster risk management strategy. So we believe that there are initiatives here and there, and it's very important for us to be able to document the successes of such initiatives, and this will allow us to move forward. And right now, I would just say that if you look at what we've seen in the COVID-19 situation, we all know that disasters can really bring a lot of consequences that are not limited to lives that are lost, but also to economic instability. And this is really something that we need to pay attention to. On a final note, I would say that climate change is not a curse or a fatality, it's a phenomenon. And it's a phenomenon that we can understand through science. It's a phenomenon that we can monitor. And we really have the mechanism, the experience, and we have scientific tools to really make sure that we address this phenomenon. We can act early, predict droughts, predict floods, and save more lives.